Brave. You find the defendant not guilty, guilty of murder in the first degree, or guilty of murder in the second degree?
Not guilty.
He smiled. Right there in the courtroom, surrounded by cameras, prosecutors, and a jury that held his entire future in their hands, he smiled. Not a nervous smile, not an apologetic one, but the kind of smile that said, "You can't touch me." The kind that made people wonder if he even understood what was happening. But here's what no one in that room knew. Behind that smile was a man so terrified of what was coming that he had already made a decision that would shock the world. Before we go any further, if you're watching this from your living room, your car, or scrolling late at night, drop a comment right now and tell me where you're from. I want to know who's brave enough to hear this story to the very end. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because what comes next will change how you see everything. Aaron Hernandez. That name used to mean excellence. It used to mean touchdowns, championships, and a multi-million-dollar contract with the New England Patriots. Fans screamed his name. Kids wore his jersey. He had everything a young athlete could dream of: money, fame, a family. But beneath all of that, there was something else, something darker, something he spent years trying to hide. And on one summer night in 2013, that darkness would explode into a tragedy that no one saw coming. Let me take you back, not to the stadium, not to the cheering crowds, but to the streets Aaron grew up on. The neighborhood where loyalty meant everything, where respect wasn't given, it was earned, and where disrespect, that could cost you everything, even your life. Even after he made it to the NFL, Aaron never really left that world behind. He kept those connections, those friends, that mentality, and it created a dangerous collision between two lives that should never have mixed. His teammates saw the star athlete. His old crew saw the kid who never forgot where he came from. But what they all missed was the paranoia, the feeling that people were watching him, talking about him, judging him. Aaron once told a close friend, "I can't let anyone think I'm weak." That need to appear strong, to never back down, to protect his image at all costs, it became an obsession. And obsessions like that, they don't just fade, they explode. June 2013. The air was warm, summer was in full swing, and Aaron Hernandez was about to make a choice that would destroy not just his life, but the lives of everyone around him. Odin Lloyd, remember that name. He was 27 years old, a semi-pro football player with dreams of his own. He wasn't famous, he didn't have millions, but he had something else, a connection to Aaron's world. Odin was dating the sister of Aaron's fiancée, Shayana. The two had hung out before, went to clubs together, seemed like friends, but something changed. Prosecutors would later say that Aaron felt disrespected, that Odin had said something or been seen with someone that made Aaron feel like his reputation was on the line. And for Aaron, reputation was everything. So what happened next? In the early hours of June 17th, surveillance cameras told a story that would later be played in court over and over again. A car left Aaron's mansion. Inside were Aaron Hernandez and two of his friends. They drove to Odin Lloyd's apartment, picked him up. Odin got in, probably thinking they were just going to hang out, maybe talk, maybe clear the air. But that car didn't take him home. Surveillance footage would later show that same vehicle returning to Aaron's property hours later. But this time, Odin wasn't with them. A jogger found his body the next day, lying in an industrial park less than a mile from Aaron's house. Multiple gunshot wounds, his cell phone destroyed, his life over. The community was shaken. Odin's mother, Ursula Ward, would later stand in front of cameras, tears streaming down her face, and say the words that no parent should ever have to say. "I lost my best friend. I lost my son. I lost the love of my life." Pause for a second. Imagine being that mother. Imagine getting that phone call. Imagine your whole world shattering in an instant because someone decided your son's life didn't matter. If that doesn't make you feel something, I don't know what will. Drop a like if you're still with me, because this story only gets heavier. Police didn't take long to connect the dots. Text messages between Aaron and Odin, phone records, and the most damning piece of evidence, Aaron's own security cameras. The same system meant to protect him became the thing that exposed him. Within days, Aaron Hernandez was arrested. TV cameras surrounded his mansion as officers led him out in handcuffs. The same hands that once caught touchdown passes were now cuffed behind his back. His fiancée watched from the doorway, holding their baby daughter. The world watched in disbelief. How does someone with everything throw it all away? But here's what made it even more chilling. Even as he was being arrested, even as his life was crumbling in real time, Aaron smiled. That same calm, confident smile, like he knew something no one else did. His lawyer would later say Aaron believed he could beat the case, that he thought his fame, his money, his legal team would be enough. But those close to him told a different story. They said Aaron was terrified, that he had nightmares about prison, that he once said, "I'd rather die than spend my life in a cage." Remember that, because it's going to matter. It's going to matter more than you think. In court, Aaron Hernandez played a role, the role of a man who couldn't be broken. He leaned back in his chair, smiled at his legal team, looked relaxed, almost bored. The cameras caught every moment. People watching at home couldn't believe it. How could someone on trial for murder look so unbothered? But behind closed doors, friends said he was falling apart, having panic attacks, struggling to sleep. His fiancée, Cheyenne, stood by him, visited him, brought their daughter to see him through the glass. She wanted to believe in his innocence. She needed to believe. But the evidence? It kept piling up, and no amount of smiling could make it disappear. Before we move forward, I need you to do something. Think about someone you love, your mother, your brother, your best friend. Now imagine them being taken from you in the most violent way possible. How would that feel? What would you want? Justice? Answers? Revenge? Comment below and tell me what you think justice really means in a case like this. And hit subscribe, because the next part of this story is going to test everything you think you know about guilt, fear, and what happens when a man realizes there's no way out. The trial was coming. The evidence was overwhelming. And Aaron Hernandez's smile? It was about to be tested in ways he never imagined. The courtroom was packed, every seat filled. Journalists, sketch artists, Odin Lloyd's family sitting in the front row, searching Aaron's face for any sign of remorse, any flicker of humanity. But all they saw was that smile, that infuriating, haunting smile. The prosecution stood up, and what they presented wasn't just evidence, it was a timeline of decisions that led to murder. They showed the jury text messages, Odin texting his sister just hours before his death, saying he was with NFL. Surveillance footage from multiple angles showing Aaron's car leaving and returning. Shell casings found near Odin's body that matched ammunition found in Aaron's home. Cell phone records that placed Aaron at the scene at the exact time of death. Witnesses testified. Security experts explained the footage. Forensic analysts broke down the evidence piece by piece. The defense tried. They argued the evidence was circumstantial, that the media had already convicted Aaron before the trial even started. They painted him as a devoted father, a talented athlete who was being railroaded because of his fame. But the jury wasn't buying it. With each passing day, you could see it in their faces. They had made up their minds. And Aaron? He kept smiling. But if you looked closely, really closely, you could see cracks forming. A twitch in his jaw, his leg bouncing under the table. Moments where his eyes glazed over, like he was somewhere else entirely.
His lawyer would lean over and whisper something. Aaron would nod, smile again. But it was getting harder to maintain. The mask was slipping. His fiancée, Cheyenne, testified. The defense hoped she would help, but under cross-examination, she admitted to disposing of evidence. A box Aaron had asked her to get rid of. She didn't know what it was, or at least that's what she said. The prosecution suggested it contained the murder weapon. It was never found. Watching her on the stand, you could see the weight of it all crushing her. She loved him. She wanted to protect him. But the truth was louder than her loyalty.
Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. After weeks of testimony, the jury went into deliberation. Hours passed, then a full day, then another. People started to wonder, was there doubt? Could Aaron actually walk free? Odin's mother sat in that courtroom every single day, staring at the man accused of killing her son, waiting for the words that would either give her justice or destroy her completely. And then, finally, the jury came back. The courtroom went silent. You could hear people breathing. The judge asked the foreperson to stand. On the charge of murder in the first degree, how do you find the defendant? The words came out slowly, deliberately, guilty of murder in the first degree. The room erupted, not in cheers. This wasn't a celebration, but in gasps, in sobs, in the sound of a mother finally hearing the word she had been praying for. Odin's family broke down. His mother collapsed into the arms of the person next to her. Years of pain, of wondering, of fighting for her son's memory. It all poured out in that moment. And Aaron, for the first time, the smile was gone. His face went blank. Pale. He stared straight ahead, but you could see it. The realization, the fear, the understanding that everything he had been trying to avoid was now inevitable. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder. Aaron didn't react. He just sat there, frozen. The man who once dominated on the football field, who had smiled his way through a murder trial, was finally facing the reality he had been running from his entire life. The judge sentenced him immediately, life in prison, without the possibility of parole. Mr. Hernandez, you are committed to MCI Cedar Junction for the term of your natural life. Natural life. Those words echoed in the courtroom. Aaron's fiancée sobbed. His mother covered her face. His daughter, still a baby, would grow up without him, would only know her father through stories and prison visits. If that doesn't break your heart, I don't know what will. Drop a like if you're feeling the weight of this moment, because what comes next is even darker. April 19th, 2017. 2 years into his sentence, a guard was making routine rounds. He approached Aaron's cell, and what he found would send shockwaves through the world. Aaron Hernandez was dead, hanging from a bedsheet tied to the window. He had taken his own life. The man who smiled through his trial, who acted like nothing could break him, had finally been broken. Medical examiners ruled it a suicide. They found 3 handwritten notes near his body, one to his fiancée, one to his daughter, one to his lawyer. The contents were never fully released, but people close to the case said they were filled with pain, with apology, with fear. His family demanded an investigation. They wanted to know if someone had helped him, if there was foul play. But the evidence pointed to one heartbreaking truth. Aaron had made a choice. The same choice he once told friends he would make if he ever faced life in prison. He had chosen death over captivity. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this before you answer. Do you believe Aaron Hernandez was a monster? Or was he a broken man who made terrible, unforgivable choices? Because the truth is, it's not black and white. Yes, he took a life. Yes, Odin Lloyd's family will never get their son back. That pain is real, permanent, and devastating. But Aaron's pain was real too. Not an excuse, not a justification, but real. He grew up in violence, lost his father at a young age, struggled with his identity, fought demons that most of us will never understand. And instead of getting help, he buried it all. Buried it so deep that when it finally came out, it destroyed everything in its path. Odin's mother, Ursula Ward, spoke to reporters after Aaron's death, and her words still echo today. This is not just about my son. This is about every mother who has lost a child to violence, every family that has to fight for justice while the world moves on. She didn't celebrate Aaron's death. She didn't feel relief. She just felt empty, because no amount of justice brings back the person you lost. So what's the lesson here? What's the takeaway from a story this tragic? Maybe it's that fame and money don't protect you from your demons. Maybe it's that one moment of anger can destroy countless lives. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just a reminder that everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. And sometimes those battles end in ways no one expects. Aaron Hernandez's story didn't have a happy ending. There was no redemption arc, no courtroom speech where he apologized and found peace. Just a man who smiled to hide his fear, a man who thought he could outrun his choices, and a man who, in the end, couldn't escape the consequences of what he had done. Thank you for following Aaron Hernandez's story to the very end. I know this wasn't easy to hear. True crime isn't just about the mystery. It's about the people, the lives that were changed forever. Odin Lloyd, Ursula Ward, Cheyenne Jenkins, Aaron's daughter. They all carry this weight every single day. If this case moved you, if it made you think, if it made you feel anything at all, hit that like button and subscribe. We have more stories like this. Stories that deserve to be told. Stories that remind us that behind every headline is a real person with real pain. And before you go, I need to know. What's your final theory? Do you think Aaron Hernandez was broken beyond repair? Do you think he could have been saved? Or do you believe some choices are simply unforgivable? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what this story made you feel. And tell me where you're watching from, because I want to know this message reached you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, every choice matters. Every life matters. And every story, no matter how dark, deserves to be heard.